Hi, my name is Greg Wilson. I'm the minister for Redeemer Church in Chorlton, Manchester. We're a church that loves Jesus, that loves people, and is cultivating the rich culture of our neighborhood. We created this mini video series for this reason. We don't want anyone to miss out on God. We don't want anyone to miss out on His joy, on His love, on the new life that He gives. God is always singing His love over us, and this just might be a time where you'll have ears to hear it. This series is in 4 parts, so if you haven't started from the beginning, go ahead and have a look. And it all comes from a verse in the Old Testament, from a book named after the prophet Zephaniah. It's found in verse 17 of chapter 3, and I'll just read it for us. It says, "The Lord your God is with you, a mighty warrior who saves. He will take great delight in you. In His love He will no longer rebuke you, but will rejoice over you with singing." We don't want anyone missing out on what that means in their life. So if you want to learn more about this after watching these videos, or if you want someone to pray for you, or if you just have questions about the Christian faith, even if you have rants, we're open to talk to you about them and to listen to those rants. You can go to redeemermcr.com/connect-card and we can get in touch. So presence, power, joy, lastly, love. Love. The Lord your God is with you, the mighty warrior who saves. He will take great delight in you. In His love He will no longer rebuke you, but will rejoice over you with singing. He will rejoice over you with singing. This is love. Now we deserve rebuke, but we get His joy because of His love. He doesn't shout at us, He sings it over us. Now think back to Zephaniah's context here. How can a God who is rightly bringing His judgment against people who are set against Him, as God's people were then, how can we experience love instead of the judgment that we deserve? How does that work? How can this be true? Is God inconsistent with Himself? How is it true? Jesus made it true. Only through Christ can this verse be true. Only through Jesus, because Christ took on all our rebuke, on all our judgment, on all the condemnation that we rightly deserve. He took our selfishness, He took our greed, all of our self-centeredness. He took it all upon Himself. And we were living isolated from God, separated from Him because of our own brokenness that we chose for ourselves. Jesus destroyed that separation, and now we can be connected to Him. That's amazing. A few weeks into lockdown, my wife, Christina, got what we assume was the virus. So me and my son, we had to isolate ourselves from her. I slept in a different room, had to keep her to one area of the house, which was basically fine for her because she had no energy to do anything. I had to make sure I made all the food, make sure she didn't touch food, kind of all that kind of stuff. We tried to keep everything safe. We kept our distance from each other, and it was so unnatural to be isolated from my wife, to not give her a hug or a kiss or something like that. It felt weird. It was not fun. It was not enjoyable. And that was only like a week and a half or 2 weeks or however long it was. Now, probably some of you who are watching this right now have had to isolate yourself from other people in your house much longer than me. You might know more about this than I do. But if being separated from my wife is not natural, surely being separated from my God, who is my maker, who knows me more than anyone else, that is even less natural. That's way more unnatural. Being isolated from God is not natural. We were not made for that. We were made to be connected to Him in all things, in all places of our lives, united to Him in all ways. And Jesus broke down the barrier between us and God. He made it happen. His death and His resurrection destroyed that unnatural barrier. And now, instead of keeping God and His love out of our lives, Jesus breaks in with His revolution of love, of joy, of power, and of presence into our lives now. So if you follow Jesus, if you trust Him with your life, if you've given Him your life, this is what we get. And look, Jesus was already punished for us. And God is not going to do it again. Jesus took the rebuke, and Jesus gave us God's joy. So stop trying to punish yourself. Every time you doubt yourself, every time you wonder about your standing with God, every time you let failure reign in your heart, in effect, What you're saying is the punishment that God the Father inflicted on God the Son was not enough. He didn't do a good enough job. Jesus didn't suffer enough. And so you have to pick up more of that punishment and continue on more of that punishment. But when Jesus said, "It is finished," it was. Full stop. It is finished. We have been made new. Not perfect. Not yet, anyway. But new. So we don't have to let fear or failure or shame or disgrace or anything like that reign in our hearts any longer. For every time we gaze at our own brokenness, we need to look like 2 times, 5 times, 10 times, whatever it takes more to Jesus and to what God says about himself and how he views us in the Word, what he's done and what he says about us. And this verse in Zephaniah is looking forward to that day. Verse 16 talks about on that day, some kind of time in the future. Zephaniah is looking forward to the future of like something, there's a glorious kind of day that awaits God's people. Zephaniah's perspective is hopeful, even though there's this coming judgment that they're about to experience. But there's a glorious time where God and his people won't be separated. Now for us today, we live in that glorious time. We are living in the time all the prophets in the Old Testament looked forward to. This is it. We get to live in it. And we get to look back to history and time and space where Jesus, the mighty warrior, took on all that is broken and won us to himself. And that's how the Lord can rejoice over us with singing, despite our brokenness. He is singing his presence, his power, his joy, his love into our lives when we feel it and when we don't feel it, because that doesn't change the song. Because the singing comes from the Lord. The singing does not come from our circumstances, and our lives then are meant to be a responsive song to ourselves, back to the Lord, and to others. We can sing in a pandemic because he sings over us first. Now think about when we sing. When you make a song, or when you sing a song, your physical body is reverberating with words. Your body is actually reverberating with words. When we sing a song of worship to God, our bodies become instruments, reverberating the truths emotionally with our passion back to God, to ourselves, and to other people. Now, more than any other 5-minute song, this is how we're supposed to live our lives. Let our singing be instructive for us. It's supposed to be how we live our lives. God singing into us his love, our lives responding in kind because of his song to us. A glorious sound of love and joy and happiness resounds outward and touches all who are near us. And so when we're trying to do school stuff at home with the kids and work at the same time, this is true. When we are bored, this is true. When we're lonely, this is true. When we are worried about the future with our jobs and all the uncertainty and the economy in general, we can rest on this verse. When we feel like our heads are above the water and we are doing okay, that we still need this to be true. You need to hear this. Others need to hear this. We are so obsessed with our own performance, we can drown out and become deaf to God's song. We are so obsessed to listening to the sounds of our circumstances, we can drown out and become deaf to God's song to us. The gift of disillusionment is an opportunity for us to set our hopes on something better, something real. To set our hearts on something better, something real. Someone better, someone real. And where are the parts of your life that are not receiving this song for God? What have you closed up? What areas aren't receptive? What areas are you too afraid to be receptive? Do you trust God with your family? Do you trust God with your kids? What about financial stability, the future? Struggles with loneliness right now, meaninglessness right now? Now here's the thing. Anyone can get in on this. Anyone can get in on this. If you don't need more of God's presence or power or joy or love in your life, well, maybe this isn't for you. But I need more of those things. And if you're like me and you need more of those things, here, you can have it. God's like, yeah, you can have it. I give generously. I want to give you generously. You can have it all. Anyone can get in on this. Every part of us that aches to hear these words from God. I am with you. I am the mighty warrior who is saving you. I take great delight in you. In my love, you aren't rebuked. I rejoice over you in the song that I sing of presence, of power, of joy, and love. Over these 4 videos, we've looked at God's presence, His power, His joy, and His love. Thank you so much for following this series with us. If you'd like to grow more in any of these areas that we've talked about, or if you just need prayer for something, especially, or if you just want someone to pray for you, we would love to help as a church. We don't want anyone to miss out on the love of God. You can go to redeemermcr.com/connect card and we can get in touch.